How you doing? Hi, BH. Hi, Owen. John, how are you? Boy, minus 19 in Montreal. Yikes. Here, uh, we've got a wind chill of minus 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Uh, and it's about, I think, about 13 degrees without the wind chills. So I'm staying inside. Hey, Rancher. No, you better not, Rancher. Hey, William. Hey, Licks. Good. -8 here in New Jersey. Wow. Hi, Patrick. Okie doke. Let me sort of fill in one thing that I was talking about this morning before we get started or talk about the afternoon. 75 in the Keys. Yeah, that's that sounds like fun. Hi, Hans. Um, this morning we were talking about the hidden charges. And I was going through my bank account and there was another one. And the other one I found was that my bank had a charge on the credit card because some kind of transfer that it did. So that was another $40 or something like that. It's just like, come on. So all of those together of the ones that were sort of not known about added up to almost another $100. And this didn't count the 100 for the customs and the regular amount for the tax. So, boy, that's on an international thing now, so that's a little different. Hey, see Dominic, John, and Owl, and Rick. Hi, Rick on watches. Hi, Homer. And Rich, hi Rich, 71 degrees in Portugal. Toasty. First reputable dealers selling a watch on Chrono 24, then contact them not using the service. Chi-Town, hey, Chi-Town, Chicago or California. William, Hans. Okay. Yeah. Now, this is what this was a true thing. The other day, I saw this a Beauvais 1930 that was on sale on Chrono 24, and it was $19,583. And like Rick and the ranchers said, what you can do, you can always go and see what the price is or what kind of deal you can get directly from the seller rather than going through Chrono 24. And so I went. The name of this place. Now what was it? Now I didn't put the real name down because that was going up on a picture, but it was called the Watches of Mayfair. Now this is an English company, and they had for the price without the VAT, which would if they sold it to somebody in the U.S., that's what it would be. It was 15,382, and I mean that's what about almost $5,000 difference. 4,000, well, about 4,000, little over $4,000 difference. Easiest thing in the world to do. So that's what I want to talk about this afternoon, and any ideas that you guys have about, how can you get the best price? Hey, Bill Woods, how you doing? From a real Billy. Okay. Um, Okie doke. Hi, Tim. I see it's after 5 o'clock somewhere, right, Tim? Okay. Hi, Tony. I always contact eBay Chrono 24 seller directly if possible, especially if they have a business. Yeah, that's a great idea, Lex. Really good one. Hey, Neff. Um, Saves the seller 6% Chrono 24. Yes, that's a very good point, Rick. You do save the. I mean, when I sold one of my watches on Chrono 24, I did okay. I mean, just okay. Didn't do great, but I did okay. And when I sold it on an auction through Sotheby's, I did great, even though they had a bunch of other things they added to it, plus a $250 something to ship it from Geneva. That one worked out great. So yeah, those are some of the things. Now, some of the other things that I found out about. One of the things that I think is important, and that a lot of you pointed out, was that try and contact the seller directly. You got to be careful doing it. There's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. I think Licks and Rick were both talking about that, and of course the rancher was too. But how to do it? I had dumb luck on this last buy for two things. Trust on dumb luck too, and one thing is the shipping price. And the guy who I got my watch from is free shipping. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that because I had to pay that before, and it can get expensive. And the other thing is, in terms of contacting them, this is sort of a funny thing, and I learned this in a recent one. When you contact somebody, um, you don't have to start off with, let's make a deal on this thing. You can start off. I simply started off with an inquiry. Said, could I get a picture of the movement? And I think that sort of the guy's wheels in his head were going, oh, they're going to see that this movement isn't in-house. Well, yeah, that's true. But the thing of it was that that was the kind of movement that I wanted. I mean, the whole idea that you have to have an in-house movement, there are a lot of times, I mean, like if you found a watch with a Vossure movement in it and it was by, Timex, wouldn't matter. You're going to have a Vossure movement or an Agenor movement or uh, module of some sort, so you can, those kinds of things. But a person, sometimes the seller, even when they run a business, sometimes they don't really bother a whole lot in knowing the whole horology of a book. Um, okay. Uh, hey, Crappy Luxy is here. How you doing, Crappy? Good to see you. Okie doke. So let's talk about how to try and get the best deal. To me, the very first thing, and this is the first, no matter what, if you're going to go into an auction or any place you're going to buy a watch, find out. I mean, shop around, see what the going price is. There's sometimes that's hidden because a lot of times there'll be all these things for sale, and they'll be at one price, but you don't know that that was the price they actually were able to sell it for. But it gives you an idea. All right. Right now is one of the worst times ever I've seen to buy a watch. It just nuts. The one I got was because it was, one of those things. It was sort of a watch that not everybody collects, and it's one that I collect. Um, but for the most part, watches now are just nuts. There was some I was looking at one of my favorite watches I never got, but I really like in a strange way is the winner of the, I think it was the 2011 sports watch, and it was by Mont Blanc, and it was a world timer, and it's got a ETA 7753 movement in it, and usually you can pick a thing for a couple $1,000, but for a Grand Prix winner. And I went out, and I mean, just earlier today, I was poking around, see how it's doing, and uh, they have this one place had it. It was brand new, and it was almost right at the list price. Now, this is a watch that's got an ETA movement in it. It's like what? See, 2011 when it won, so it's probably at least 20 years old. Not 20, but 10 years old. So, so things are really high right now. And so I think that there's it's a good time if you're ever gonna try to get a good deal, you're not gonna get a good deal, but you're trying to reduce a worse deal. Someone was telling me earlier what they did was really interesting. It was for a Chopek, I think, and the all of the Chopek were sort of they were selling pretty high, and all he wanted was to get one at the retail price. In other words, today sometimes the best deal is what the MSRP is on the watch. I mean, that's how bad things are. And so what this guy did, he contacted a seller. I mean, he is sort of like, I think they're almost an AD seller. And he said this is what he wanted, and they contacted Chopek, and he was able to get it at the MSRP, and that was sort of a neat thing. But for the most part, if you want a Chopek, you want an FP Journe, you want a Vacheron Constantin, all of these are all on a waiting list, so it's sort of nuts. Okay, Forbin, hey, at my age, I get excited for a movement. Oh, come on, Forbin, are things that bad? Hi, Mr. Gumby. Um, okay, let's see. When will these prices level off? This is nuts. I tell you when it will. I mean, people run out of money is when it'll level off. I mean, any as there's I've never seen a better example. And you guys, you smart people with money can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, and that's it's very much of a supply and demand. The pandemic just knocked the socks out of supply, but it didn't seem to do much to demand. Now, if you're stuck at home with nothing to do, watch collection can be a lot of fun. All right. So I think that's one of the things. So the demand didn't go down, but boy, the supply sure did. And so in terms of when it's going to be better again, um, when the supply gets back up. Right now, here it is January, and people are on waiting lists for 2023 already. I was talking to somebody who got on the FP Journe waiting list, and it was 2023. And quite frankly, I was thinking, wow, you did well. I have no idea, the guys who like to buy Rolexes, they've been, phew, you know, those prices have gone nuts. The other thing too, I was looking the other day at one of the, I won't say one of the few, but one of the Rolexes I like. I've always liked the Air King. There's something about that I like, mainly the Bloodhound dial. But I looked at that, on the Rolex site, and that thing, I swear it only had been like, 4,500 or 5,000 a couple of years last year or 2 years ago, and now it's over 7,000 for the MSRP on it. So I don't know when things are coming down, if they ever are. Yeah, traveling nomad, I'm smart, but not with money. I think a lot of that describes a lot of watch collectors. Hi, Mark. How you doing, man? Um, Many of the older collectors know just sitting out 2022 is a great abstention. Yeah. The trouble is it sometimes it's hard to do that. I think, one thing though, uh, what else can you do? Who the worst thing I think that can happen is for people to take stupid chances, okay? If somebody from God knows where has got a great deal on a watch, and the price is super low and so forth, and he wants some money wired, and he's in a hurry. You got to do this pretty quickly because somebody else wants it. That's one thing I learned. You never ever buy a watch from someone who says they got to have it right now. Uh, it's really funny. I was watching a thing by Buffett, the money guy, and he said that's one of the things that he never trusted. If you ever ran into somebody who said, "I got a deal, but you got to get on it right now because the window's closing," and that happened to me. It was some guy in Germany who had a watch. He says, "Listen, I got to do this. I'm going on holiday tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow, so if we can get this done, I can take care of it." Oh, man, ding, 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 ding. Those are things you want to avoid. Um, okay, so let's take a look at some of the stuff going on. Hi, Panama. How you doing, Carlos? Oh God. Tell- Okay, if the deal is too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. Buy the seller before you buy the watch. That's another piece of wisdom. Um, what I want to do is find an honest seller who's not too smart about prices. that would be the that would I think be the ideal. you know, you don't. Unfortunately, I don't think those guys stay in business too long. Um, Yeah, Rancher's point is, go where they ain't. I think there was during the Civil War, the American Civil War, there was one general. I forgot whose side it's on. It was on, but he said, "Yeah, you go where they ain't," and I think that's good advice. This is essentially through not any kind of intentional thing. And this last watch I got a great deal on it. Everything's working out, except I'm getting nibbled to death by ducks on these little things. But it's just kind of watch most people wouldn't look at twice, and that's okay. All right, I need to sell this watch right now. It's equal ticking money pit time bomb. Yeah, Chi-town. That's exactly. Someone who says, look, I've got the mob is coming after to break my knees if I don't sell it, so I got to get it right away. Yeah. Okay, local watch groups often pass watches among each other discount. That's another thing. This is one of the things that I haven't really looked into. And I should. Well, I belong to one group, but I just haven't tried to sell a watch through them or buy a watch. Uh, One of the reasons I haven't really looked into buying a watch, for the most part, the watches they had weren't the kind I wanted or I could afford. But that would be certainly, I think, a good move. Through a group where somebody's not looking to make a you know to stay alive profit, so to speak. I mean, if I ran a watch company, you've got to have a profit, period. That's how you stay in business. And I've never begrudged anyone who wants to make a profit. That's stupid. But they shouldn't begrudge someone who wants to get the best price that they can either. So I mean, it's one of those things we got to sort of deal with, and I think it's important to deal with it realistically. And Rick's point about buying a buyer, I think, is true, but also too, from the buyer's point of view, you got to buy the seller. Um, and by that I mean someone who wants something, orders something, doesn't then change his mind or send it back or become problematic no matter what you do. But on the other hand, you shouldn't, I sound like Polonius. You shouldn't, you shouldn't accept something that's no good. Carlos, okay, what's up? All right. Let's see. Hey, obese tuna, how you doing? So many jewelers closing shop. One was established 160 years ago. Now, John, this is a good one. This is a very good point you make here. And I hate to sound like a vulture, but let's face it, we're all vultures. If a And this happened when I got my Urban Jurgensen. They had decided to sell the company, and the new company, or I guess the new owners were going to come out with a new line of watches in 2023, and so they had a whole group of watches that they sold almost at half price, and a few of us were able to get those, and that's always good. So by the same token, I mean, it's sort of like one of those train wreck sales. That's boy, they either throw it away or they sell it at a discount. but I just for finding ones that go out of business. It, the, if some of the best watch stores in my area went out of business, very few of them have watches I'd want anyway. Uh, there's one store that might, but for the most part, living close enough to New York and Boston, if I want to go look at physical watches, I can just hop on the train and go visit, especially New York. New York City is the greatest place to go for a watch lover. Um, I found great deals on 47th Street. I found, I don't know if I found great deals anywhere else. One thing that I found out that you can do is go there and then sort of make a deal with the person, then go home and then buy it from home. The reason for that is that the taxes, the New York City taxes, you have both the state of New York plus the city of New York. So if you can avoid taxes, that's I'm legally, it's always a good thing, and I think that that was one thing. Now, the taxes in Connecticut aren't bad. I mean, the sales taxes I think are 6.35, whereas in New York they're 8.5%. And when you're talking about something like 15, 20,000 or higher, that can be a lot of money. Uh, Bill Woods, anyone on a Glashütte original? How does it compare with Omega or Grand Seiko? Hmm. Um, Carlos, so far I'm a bit more of a sucker to little treasury. They invite me to things, but I have not purchased anything. Part of that, I love them. Yeah, I tell you, I've been invited to some great parties in New York from some very good watch companies. Haven't taken them up yet, though. Okay. If anybody would like to respond to Bill's, who was it? Who was it? Where did he go? Lost it. Yeah, Bill Woods wanted to know. I don't know if anyone has a Glashütte original and he wants to know how they compare to Omega or Grand Seiko. Okay, let's see. We're at 7.5. Yeah, William, is that, let's see, where is that, William? That's in New Jersey? Now, you just told me that because I know that there's New York and then there's New York City. And New York City has a double tax on that. Hey, says Lazare. Federico doesn't want us shopping on 47th Street. You're right. He's told me that in no uncertain terms. And I think the best deal I've ever had was that I got on 47th Street. And if you go to 47th Street, you got to know what you're doing now. I think, in fact, not only 47th Street, just anywhere. If you go out shopping for watches into stores or into auctions or anywhere, do your homework. Because you can find, if you're talking with somebody, you want to bargain with them, I say, look, I'd like to get it from you because you like them for whatever reason you want, or they got a pretty girl who's, picture there for who's going to be answering the phone, whatever reason. And so but you can say, well, I can get it from X, Y, or Z for a big discount, and but I'd rather get it from you, and so let's talk about that. And something like that. Geo are great, but buy pre-owned or get a large discount new. Very good watches. There you go, Bill. Thanks, Rick. Um, Mark, 50 in the room. There should be 50 likes. Come on, everybody. Oh, Mark, thanks. By the way, Mark, if I'm gonna bring up an example of something you got to watch out for. And Mark reminded me of it. There was this guy who this is FP Journe, and FP Journe shouldn't be doing this, or they shouldn't allow it. He put a deposit down on a FP Journe before the pandemic, and so he's waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it, and he finds out he said the guy basically never got it for him, and he found out the guy sold it to somebody else, and it's like, wait a minute. He called this guy that Mark knows called the national or the regional distributor for FP Jorn, and the guy said, "Well, we sent it to him." And so it turns out that that is not good behavior at all. And this going back to Rick's point, by the seller. Boy, that seller, if FP Jorn found out about that, I think he'd, jerk his license. You shouldn't do that. When I when I was getting my FP Jorns originally, there was a place in Beverly Hills. Made a deal with a guy. The guy calls back after we had made the deal and said, "Gee, I'm sorry. One of my best customers wants that watch." Now, if somebody tells me that, I understand it. That's doing business, and I appreciated the fact that he was honest with me. And so I said, "Okay, I'll go find some else." I did. I headed for 47th Street. You have to understand when somebody is being forthright with you. And and then the guy calls about a month later and says, "Oh, the guy changed his mind. You still want to buy it?" At the time, I said, "No." God, now I wish I'd said, "Yeah, yeah, I'll take it." But the thing of it is that there's what to me is flat out dishonesty, and I think the guy that Mark told me about was dealing with a dealer who had no integrity. And on the other hand, the guy that I dealt with in Beverly Hills, at least, he's honest with me. He said, "Look, I got one of my regular customers, a guy that, helps keep the place, the lights on, wants that." And, but, the fact that he told me the truth was that later on, when he called back about a month later, when the guy changed his mind, if I was still looking for it, I'd say, "Great," and make a deal with a guy because he was straight with me all along, and that becomes very important. Goes back to Rick's point of buying the seller. Um, yeah, it could be technically a breach of contract. This is the problem, though, and Rancher's absolutely right. Here is the issue, though. You end up in a big, long hassle struggle. And that's they depend on that. Now you start ready to haul a guy into court, and there that may get their attention. But most people would just don't want the hassle, and that I think they can get away with something because of that. Anyway, hey, Mark G. FP Jordan is no longer using authorized dealers. Mark, I found that out. Who was it? Somebody was telling me, oh, yeah, I know who it was. Somebody was telling me that they just ordered an FP Jorn and they got on a waiting list or something for 2023. And I asked them, did they go to the boutique in New York? He said, yeah. Well, I know the people in the boutique in New York. They're better than great. They're really fantastic. If you ever want to buy a watch, that would be the place to go. Now, here's the thing. There's another place in Greenwich, Connecticut called Betteridge that used to be an AD. And it's sort of the funny and the sad part. I don't think Betteridge ever gave much of a break to anybody, but they're nice people. They always invite me to cocktail parties. So I have, they're on my A list. But, so I thought, well, they're an AD. So I went and checked it out and they showed all of these watches. And so I thought, wow, it says call for price. So each one I clicked, they were out. So, I mean, this is why now is such a terrible time to buy a watch or even try to buy a watch. But anyway, guys, listen, thank you all. I got the message. Thanks, Rancher. It was till it's time I got to run. Um, so listen, everybody stay safe and take care, and we'll see you later.